This is an SM Media production. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rangers Assessment, your SM Media exclusive Rangers podcast. I'm Scott McKay. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. We're recording this on a Sunday afternoon. It's probably, Scott, I would go as far as to say, welcome our guest first of all, Scott McKay. It's probably safe to say that maybe you're in a better mood now than you were maybe 3 hours ago.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It cheers you up, doesn't it?
Aye, I mean it's obviously we'll get into the Morton game, but it's one of those things where when you're in a cup, and let's face it, we have to be honest, if Rangers or Celtic are put out early, it's always fancied that the other side are going to go and win it.
Yeah.
But fan wise, there is a positivity when that sort of thing happens and that sort of result kind of happens. But as I've said to everybody, since it's one thing for your rivals to be out, and we saw that in the 55 season. Rangers had plenty of chances to win both cups and didn't take them. This is the big term. Decent draw, I would say, probably a decent draw out of that. Obviously, I think it's all eight teams are still Premiership teams, so shows you it's one of those kind of draws where there's no such thing as an easy game. Rangers saw that recently, but it's probably the best chance Rangers will have to get that League Cup back. They haven't won it since 2011.
Oh, 100%. This is where Bill's really going to earn his money for Rangers. It's a chance for him to go in. He's selling win a first trophy of the season. At itself brings a lot of brings a lot of advantages, as we've seen in previous seasons for Celtic when they win a League Cup. So we really need to go in and win this and assert ourselves in this competition.
Right, let's move into Morton, because I was looking at periods in that Morton game where Rangers getting into the quarterfinals was going to be quite hard, but they got over the line. Obviously, we'll analyse the game. First of all, the team news. We'll get started. We'll kind of go through the game as a whole. A lot of changes as we expected. Maybe not some of the changes. I thought Yanis Hadji would start. I thought we might have seen maybe Yilmaz. He wasn't even in the squad. So let's get through the team. Botland started. Again, I was quite surprised at that. Sterling, Goldson, Balogun, John Leafeco coming in as well. I thought was a wee bit of a surprise. Lundstrom, Dill, Cifuentes in midfield, and the front three of Dessers, Lammers, and Matondo. Team news. What did you think? I thought Matondo would have started. I kind of thought the midfield would be as is. I thought we might have seen Hadji, but it was an interesting team. I was quite surprised when I saw it.
Aye, definitely. The biggest standout for me was Butland starting, as you say there. I'm one for Rangers giving young players an opportunity. I think coming into Rangers first team's a big cauldron for these young guys because of the expectations on the club. So the fact McCrory didn't start, he's either getting a move. That's what I'm hoping it is. If not, I'm a wee bit distressed at the fact that he's not been given a game against Morton in the cup. It's a chance to prove to the boy that yes, he is going to get some game time. It was just wasn't a bizarre call, but it just kind of bewildered me a wee bit. As for the rest of the team, it didn't really click and start yesterday, did it? Didn't it?
It's
basically, we've been seeing it all season. It's the same thing we're seeing every week just now. We're seeing spells of matches. I seen somebody posted on Twitter yesterday that that's 11 games with this team now, and we're still only seeing it in patches. We've got PSV coming up Tuesday, so we need to change something quite quickly.
Yeah, we'll get into PSV later on, because I think there is a lot of changes that need to happen. But I can understand, obviously, the front three. Dessers, I think, needs. I think the big thing with Dessers is I was seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh, he needs dropped. He's no fit." The only way he's going to get match fit is playing games. That is the only way. And Matondo, I think, deserved the start. I like Dowell coming in. I like Cifuentes staying. Lundstrom. People know my feelings. We'll get into the Lundstrom later on. I don't think he's why not a Bailey Rice in that scenario? I don't see the Lundstrom thing anymore. But getting into the game, Rangers were working out the blocks. Matondo was doing some nice stuff. I thought Lundstrom was actually okay the first 15 minutes. But first half, I mean, we'll just do the first half as a whole. was literally nothing. Like there was
That is
no
poor.
like agility. There was nothing to say. Rangers. I thought at times you could see kind of some ideas, but I just didn't think anything was coming. Morton, I wouldn't even go far to say Morton defended the box well because Rangers were literally doing nothing to walk them.
First half lacked a basic, Scott, was desire.
Yep.
There's no desire. We weren't up for winning with 50-50s. We weren't even pressing at some points in the first half. That's concerning. Really, really concerning. We're playing a team that's, with all due respect to Morton, my local team, of a lesser opposition than us.
Mm-hmm.
We really should have been getting out and putting them under some pressure right for the word go. And Sam Lammers just now, for me, I know he was our best player in pre-season, but he's barely kicked a ball for he came into the team. Scored against Levy, right, fair enough, but when Yanis Hadji came on that second half, he offered so much more than Lammers did during the first half.
My worry with Lammers is that I don't think he's offering what. So this is where I've got the big concern with Beale is from a tactical point of view. Is he thought that Cantwell, Lammers, Cifuentes, can they all play in the one team? Because I'm looking at that Rangers team just now and I'm thinking Lammers is not doing what Cantwell is. Cantwell was better in that position already than Lammers. Right. I'm not saying, I still think Lammers could be a good player because you see technically he's very good. You can see he's got the ability to kind of play out left. He can score a goal. We scored a couple of really good goals in pre-season. I thought his finish in the Livingston game was really good. But right now I'm just not seeing, whether it's a lack of cohesion, I don't know. And again, this is one of the things, was this a good opportunity to change everything up because you've got a team that you're trying to gel into a set formation, and the formation it wasn't really on show as much, but it was still very narrow, and I thought, I don't get what's happening here because Matondo was covering the left and he was fine. I thought Matondo was fine, but I don't see anything on the other side. Like and as Lammers might be doing that because he's not right-sided, he's not that side, he's not a left-handed player, he's not a striker, he's a number 10, but you've got Cantwell for that position. And if you drop Cantwell deeper, are you sacrificing what Cantwell can do?
It's so
difficult.
Much, no.
It's very difficult, I think.
I wouldn't say dropping Cantwell deeper, you're giving him more sort of license to play for deep and influence the match. But for me, Yanis Hadji needs to come in and play in the number 10 position. Lammers needs dropped. Hadji came in, he drifted out wide in the second half. He got involved a lot more. He seemed to want the ball.
Yeah.
Lammers is just kind of going invisible in matches at the minute for me.
Yeah, there was times I honestly forgot he was playing. Like there was just not. I was watching the game, I was thinking, Lammer, he touched the ball, and I was thinking, oh, there he is. Didn't even.
When Hadji came on for me, he tended to, when he drifted, he stretched Morton a wee bit more.
Yeah.
So he did by dropping wide by getting into the centre. He was more fluent in that role than what Lammers has been. And that's when Beale first came in last season, he Kent in that position. That's what Kent was doing. He was trading places with whoever was out wide, and there was an interchange amongst the players. There's not really been that when we've seen Lammers in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move into the second half. 5 minutes into the second half, there was a VAR check. Cyril Dessers, who I think he's given away 2 penalties since he came in. Mm-hmm. I think he's unlucky. I think, obviously, when you're going into the box, Broadfoot makes a complete meal of it. Let's not kid ourselves here. Broadfoot knows what he's doing, and he's done it before. And I know a lot of Rangers fans, from where I'm from, round about Ayrshire, I know a lot of Rangers fans who liked Kurt Broadfoot when he was at Rangers. I know a lot of Rangers fans, those same Rangers fans, are not fond of him now for the way he's behaved in recent years at the club. But it is a penalty. There's no denying that. Grant Gillespie steps up, takes it well. And I thought at that point you would have seen the Rangers. I thought you would have seen the support really show their emotions, and they did in a way, but it wasn't as Rangers were 2-0 up against a bet, and we saw them booing a player off the park, like things like that, and it just wasn't. It was just flat. There was no atmosphere at all, and I can understand that because yes, it's a game against Morton. It isn't as. I think there was like 37,000 there or something, but there just was the fans are feeling that this team they're giving them nothing. Like there's no energy.
Aye, there doesn't seem to be much excitement about it just now. Considering the build-up we all had in pre-season when we seen all these boys coming in, it gave us a degree of optimism, and then seeing pre-season go past, and it kind of it dimmed your optimism ever so slightly. Yeah. And that game in Kilmarnock more or less is knocked the stuff in it in terms of how we felt the season was going to go. We're expecting a kind of mixed bag again. we've not really seen much so far to get optimistic about. It's a bit ties we handled them well enough for me. I wouldn't say there was a degree of luck in terms of his going through. I thought we were a better team over the two legs. But then there's still shadows. I mean, we've seen it last season against Partick at Hayman Cup. There were shadows of that yesterday against Morton, and it's for me it's worrying. We need to shape up quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be very interesting. But there was another VAR check. Leon Balogun gets brought down by cut broadfoot, and the end of a free kick for Fuentes. That's another penalty as well. Dessers takes it. I thought it was. I'm going to be honest when I said this. I just thought he was going to miss. I just had that feeling, but I think he takes it pretty well. Puts Rangers level, and I think that might be. I did see with Dessers. I know we spoke about him on here quite a bit in terms of what is he showing? Is he up to fitness? You can see that he's got that. You can see there's something there. But I think the worry for me is that, especially playing as a one, he's going to have to do a lot of work, and I just don't think that's his game. And I get, obviously, when Beale signed Dessers, he's obviously thought he needs another one up there, and I now see why. As much as I think Beale, we'll go on to Beale's formation later on, which I don't think that narrow shape is working, and it might be the thing where you need to buy a wide player and really change the shape up front. But I see Dessers doesn't work as a one. He doesn't.
No,
he's
no,
just
definitely
not. He's not going to.
He's not working as centre halves enough. He's
No,
not working as centre backs enough for me.
No, and that's the issue because I look at Dessers, I look at Lammers, I look at Sima, and I think I don't see how they connect together. And I think that has to be, if you're saying to spend 50 million on a front line, yes, you're going to get the best players you can find, but I'm looking at players that maybe have been targets for a long time, but you also need them to connect. You need to think, Dessers can play with Lammers and Seaman in a 3, but he can also play with Danilo in a 2. And I think there's been a lot of, and I know this is maybe too early to come to this conclusion, but I don't see the players being bought for a system. I think they've all been bought together, and the system's I don't see them all being bought and then a system coming into place. I think the system's already been in place, and these guys are not going to fit it. That's my worry right now, and I think it's a worry that a few fans share because I don't see the chemistry at all. I think they're getting results just because obviously they're, like we saw, I thought Danilo was quite good when he came on, but they're getting the results, but there's not enough of a cohesion, I think, for this team to really kick on. I think you need to buy another wide player, and I wasn't of that opinion maybe 3 weeks ago, but now I think width has to be a real. They really need to add some width to this team, or it could be a problem.
Aye, definitely. I've always voiced in the past I was a big Fashion Sakala fan, but Sakala gave you his width, trickery, could beat a man, could score a goal. Aye, fine, we all know how frustrating the boy was, but
yeah,
he gave you something different. It was a different option. We need somebody of that ilk. Obviously, they can dribble and pass and shoot a wee bit better and score an open goal in important matches like Sakala missed last season. But we definitely need. Rangers are missing a player that can beat a man. All we've really got in the team that can do it's Cantwell. And ultimately, that's how you win football matches. You beat a man, you create space. It's as easy as that.
Yep.
But all we're doing is kind of forward, side, back. It's just the same kind of football we've seen for years under Beale, even when he was with Gerrard. The fullbacks being the biggest part of the game for us. We need a bit of variety. It needs to change. Something needs to change.
Yeah, absolutely. The triple substitution was made during that VAR check. Sterling, Balogun, Lammers went off. Hadji, Sima, Danilo come on. And we did see a bit of a change. We did see a 3 at the back. Lundstrom kind of dropped back. He sort of played with Goldson and Ifeko. I think it's difficult. It was like a 3-4-3, but at times it would go into a 3-5-2. But what I liked was, I wouldn't say Dessers or Danilo played in the left, but you sort of had Dessers back one. It was still like a diamond as such, but yeah, Dessers kind of behind Danilo, and it kind of worked for a wee while. Now it's not. I don't think you're going to play that. You can't play that way against a PSV. You can't.
No.
But I can see the 3 at the back maybe being an option. Now I wouldn't have John Lundstrom in that role. I think that to me is, yes, it maybe works against Morton, but you need somebody else. Rangers need to buy a left-sided centre back. Maybe not a left-sided centre back in terms of being left-footed, but just someone who's better there, because that left side has been a worry for me for ages.
Aye.
But I think there is potential there. Like, there is a change of shape, but it was more just to get players forward. But Dessers obviously drops back, plays a really nice pass into Danilo. I think Danilo does really well to finish it. And you did see that kind of connection that they two could have. And I don't know, we'll get into PSV and how they're going to set up, because I really don't think they'll play two up front against PSV. But I have to see. I liked what I saw for Dessers and Danilo in that small cameo.
Aye, definitely. There's signs of a partnership there, which is positive. Obviously, Dessers assisted Danilo for a goal, but I don't know what you mean. It's just, I'm not convinced yet. They need to go out and do it in a big match. We need a big win. I thought the game against Livy was pretty patchy until we made the subs again as well. Obviously, the subs against Morton and Saturday have come on and they've all made a difference as such, but there's something that's just not convincing me about the way we're trying to play just now, if there even is a way we're trying to play. Obviously, the fullbacks changed on Saturday was probably a big part of the reason for the dull first half. They changed the system in the second half. I think when Lundstrom went to the back, it was so he could step into midfield.
Yeah.
Because Morton were only playing one striker.
Mm.
I think that was the thinking behind that. Lundstrom is he's just another subject. But I would like to see Yanis Hadji get a wee run of matches, because he showed something different Saturday. Fine, it was Morton and all the rest of it, but he showed more than half an hour what Lammers has done since his season kicked off.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into Hadji, because I do think everybody was, as he came to the very conclusion, I thought he was really good when he came on. He offered something different, but we know what Yanis Hadji can do. But there is that thing. He is coming back from an injury. There is a lot of, like, I think Lawrence is going to have the same problem. Like, I think we know what Hadji and Lawrence can do, but right now we're saying, yeah, Tom Lawrence and Yanis Hadji are going to be out and out starters every week. No, but they're also too good to be squad options as well. And you saw Hadji's frustration in his press conference. I think Hadji can offer something, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, nah, I need to go and get first. He's too good, and he's right now. And I know this is a problem that Rangers have that nobody's really mentioned. He's probably one of the best assets in terms of what you can get for a fee, despite coming off a serious injury. So, do you go with that thing of, right, I think he's got 2 years left in his deal. See if you can get a good fee for him and move him on, and maybe get somebody else in who can offer a bit of width. But I do think also on the other side of it, I would play him on Tuesday night, because I think he can offer something different. But I don't think he's going to offer something, but he's not going to want to sit there and wait in his chance. He's going to look to move on, and I think it's a difficult one to judge. But yeah, he did make an impact.
Aye. The only way to get the proper fee that we should be getting for Yanis Hadji, he name alone's worth a couple of million.
Yeah.
Right, because of who his dad is. He's already been linked to moves this summer with like £3-4 million, for example. Give the boy a run of matches, put him in the short window, let him see what he can do. If he's going to come on and play better than Lammers just now, but Hadji's really isn't in Bill's plans, then it's kind of going to suit both parties, so to speak. But for me, I'd like to see Hadji staying. I would like to see him play. I'd like to see him either play in the 10 or the position that Cantwell's in just now. Obviously, Lawrence isn't fit enough yet, but for me, Hadji just offers something completely different, and he changed the game when he came on the other day.
Yeah, he certainly did, and I do think he will play on Tuesday. I'll be very surprised if he isn't involved, because I think he's done his chances no harm, and I think he has done something different. As much as obviously he want to stick with the players he's brought in, but he can't pick Sam Lammers on merit at the moment. He can't. No. Do you know what I mean? So the only way I can see him playing Lammers is if he thinks he can use him. Like, obviously coming from PSV, maybe knowing PSV system, he maybe knows how they operate. I still don't think that's enough for Lammers to play now. Bring him off the bench, fair enough. But right now, if you're asking me Hadji or Lammers in that position, right now, I would go with Yanis Hadji. But I don't know. I don't know how it will work. They see the game out. Obviously, it wasn't a performance we'll write home about. It was nothing special, but it's a big result. It's obviously been made better today with Celtic going out. But as we were saying off air and we were saying at the start, Rangers Celtic can go out all they want. Rangers need to take advantage of this opportunity, because if Rangers don't win it from here, there's going to be serious questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's maybe saying, disrespectful to the other clubs in Scotland. No, it's not. It's if one of the Old Firm clubs go out, the other team should win it. And Rangers haven't taken advantage of those opportunities. Very little opportunities. Celtic have been so dominant in terms of winning cups, but the few opportunities Rangers have had, apart from the Scottish Cup that they won, they haven't taken advantage of them. And this is a big opportunity.
Aye. As I was saying to you off air as well, this is where Bill's got to really come in and say, right, well, I'm a man in town now, kind of thing. A big question mark hanging over his head in terms of when Gerrard was here. They couldn't seem to have an opportunity last, as you say, is in a 55 season, but couldn't seem to close any of the opportunities up in terms of cup competition. So now we really need to push on, and we need to win this trophy. No ifs or buts or maybes, no refereeing decisions, no excuses. Go and win the thing. We've not won it in the next amount of years. It's time to bring that trophy back to Ibrox. It's been far too long. So this is our best chance of doing it now.
It certainly is. Michael Beale, obviously, he said positive things about Afeko. I thought Afeko was fine. I still don't think he's ready to be that. I mean, as much as I'm not overly sold on Barisic, and I don't think Beale's sold on Yilmaz, I'm not overly keen on Afeko in terms of being. You could see with Bassey, for example. Now, obviously, the kind of natural comparisons there with Bassey in terms of both coming from Leicester, both being young prospects.
Mm-hmm.
Bassey was so far ahead when he came to where Afeko is now. So I have that worry. I still think Rangers need a left back, and I doubt they'll go for one. I think he's quite happy with Barisic. I have serious concerns about that left side, because if Yilmaz, I don't think Yilmaz has done anything wrong, but he's obviously got the injury concerns, and I don't think Michael Beale was fully sold on him, because I think, as we see, and this goes back to a problem I have with Rangers right now. If things aren't working, how many times we didn't see it as much, obviously, because Tavernier and Barisic were playing, but how many times against Servette and against Livingston did we see crosses into the box and nothing happening? That is obviously what Beale wants in his fullbacks. Now, if that's fine, but you're also asking, with this narrow shape, your fullbacks to put in a power of work, and they're both, I think Tavernier's 31, Barisic is just turning 30. They can't do that a full season. And I don't think Yilmaz is the best crosser. Sterling, I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him as a crosser to say, but I have serious worries about that, because the crossing shows a lack of imagination, but also you're asking your fullbacks to put in a ton of work for 40, 50 games. That's not going to last.
No, definitely not. Definitely no. You're right in terms of Tavernier and his age. Obviously, age is beginning to creep up on him a bit now. I still think he's going to get his great numbers and stuff this season. One thing that interested me was against Livy. Beale brought on. No, it might have been. Beale brought on Sterling, and Tav seemed to move into like the right side of midfield at one point. Right side of midfield. He was in that kind of area. He was playing that area. I don't know if that's something that's in Beale's plans. I've always said I would get Tav a run at centre mid. Anyway, back to the point. The fullbacks, aye. I think Yilmaz going forward is offering something very different in terms of creation. He can play a ball in behind. He can play a ball at his feet. He's got a decent enough ball on him. I know what you mean about his crossing. It's not his best asset. Barisic kicks the ball out of the park when it comes to crossing. Barisic has got some ball on him when he wants to have. But I just think Yilmaz is an overall packaging in terms of an attacking outlet in certain matches. He's going to be a better type of player to use. So if you're going to utilise them properly, it could work. But I can't say I'm all that convinced. It's more the left side, the centre back partnership and the left back partnership that's worrying me. There's no balance there. When Suter and Goldson play together, when Suter and Balogun played together against Livy, there was a much better balance there in the centre, in the heart of defence, because I think Balogun was born as an established left back, but Balogun was built to speak Yilmaz through a match, and I was shouting a lot about Johnny Evans potentially coming to Rangers when he was a free transfer in the summer, because I think just having that kind of older head to speak to Yilmaz, tell him when to go, when to stay, we need that side of defence. Connor Goldson needs an established defender as a partnership. it's not worked for Goldson, and he's signed. If you think about it, he said Katic, Chalanda. I mean, you could write a bloody book. The amount of partnerships that Goldson's been in. So we need a long-term partner. Suter and him, aye, all right, you'll get away with it in certain matches, but PSV on Tuesday night, I think I'm pushing it a wee bit too far. I think you either need to play one or the other.
The only thing I would say about, obviously with Hollander it worked, but the problem with Hollander was he was always injured,
Right,
so you
injured,
couldn't really rely on that partnership. But I don't know if this was just me, but last season Suter played in the it was kind of Suter and Davis, and yes, Davis. I'm not sold on Ben Davis either. I don't think Ben Davis is a long-term option. I really don't. I think he would be one I would certainly sell. And I think there's two. Suter kind of played for a wee while. I can't quite remember if it was him. There was a couple of games it was him and Goldson. Suter kind of played on the right side defence. You had Goldson on the left side, and it worked a bit better than the other way about for a while last season. There was a few games last season, but again in big games, obviously. And we need to remember Connor Goldson's coming back from an injury, so he's not. We saw with Carter Vickers at Celtic as well as a perfect example. We can see Carter Vickers is struggling because he's a yard short, because he's still coming back from injury. But because the games are so thick and fast with Rangers, Celtic can get away with it. Arguably missed him today majorly, Carter Vickers for Celtic. But I'm looking at Goldson and thinking something completely different to I did 2 years ago. Rangers' defence without Connor Goldson is massively weaker. And that's something I didn't think I would say 2 years ago, but the evidence is there now. The evidence is very clear. Goldson brings so much to that Rangers defence. Now, I have serious concerns about the left-hand side, but with the right-hand side now, I still think Goldson's capable of making some poor positional decisions, but he's just so important to that defence. And I do agree, the problem I would have with the bringing an experienced head in is where I think Rangers need to be looking at with every signing now, because of the mess of letting Kent and Morelos go for nothing. Every signing should be a view of we'll treble our money on him. But if you bring in an experienced player at 27, 28, you're maybe not going to do that. And they've already did it with Ben Davis. They spent more than £4 million in Ben Davis. You might still make your money back, but he's not delivered. He's not delivered. He's not done what Rangers need. He's not that. He's good in the ball, but I'm not sold on him as a defender. Rangers need a no nonsense defender. As I was saying off air, I don't think he needs to be left footed. I think he just has to be competent in that right hand side. And I agree with you. He needs to be experienced. He needs to help a Yilmaz through the game, because I don't think Borna Barisic is a long-term answer. Just like I don't think John Lundstrom's a long-term answer in centre mid. There's been a lot of money spent in the forward line, and I've got serious concerns that the balance isn't right in it already, but defence has pretty much been left as the way it is, and that needs addressed. I think we've only got 11 days left in the window. That needs addressed badly.
Definitely. Like I was saying, in defence, you're needing an established partner to come in and sit with Goldson, so that we're going to. I mean, look at H. Alander, wasn't it? 55 season, was it 26, 27?
Yeah.
Roughly around about. An established players played in Serie A. We conceded 13 goals a season or something like that. Something in that region, wasn't it? It's that type of season we need to have this year, and we've kept one clean sheet home to Livingston. Yeah. That's it. That's all we've kept so far. And it's not good enough. You've seen it with mistakes at Ben Davis against Celtic last season whenever we played them. I think it was a game at Parkhead. He could have cleared it and had to half a player or something. I can't really remember a goal, but an error cost us a game. It was human error that cost us Old Firm games last season. And it needs to be cut out. To me, bringing in a Johnny Evans type player, not Johnny Evans specifically, but bringing in a player, a type of that that's done it at the top leagues in England, that can come in, can coach these boys into game management, how to close out a game, win 3 points, dig in deep, get a point away when we're 1-0 down or whatever, score in the last minute. All these games all add up when you're going for a league title, and I still think you need a bit of experience in that changing room just now, because I don't know what the average age is of his squad, but you can't put it on Tav, Goldson and Jack, because I mean, Tav's kind of been a hit and a miss so far. Goldson's not starting every week, and Jack's only coming in for selected matches type thing. So what other influence have you really got in that changing room just now? You need a bit more experience in it.
Let's move on to Tuesday night. I know we're talking about a really inadequate defence, and we're about to talk about a Champions League playoff round, but it's a big step up. It's a different. People are saying, and I know, Rangers beat PSV last season with a weaker side. PSV were weaker last season. I don't care what anyone says. PSV are a much stronger side this season. They've got a nice balance. Spoke to a couple of people in Holland, and they'd obviously said that's because I look at PSV's team on paper and think that's a far better side, but they were saying they are better. They showed a lot of grit. They were 1-0 down against Vitesse on Saturday and came back and won the game comfortably. One big player that'll be missing for PSV, though, is Noah Lang, who is set to miss a game due to injury. He hasn't travelled. That certainly interests me. But also another player who's not going to make the game is Malik Tillman. Now, Malik Tillman, I don't get what's happened there. I don't get if he's not been registered in time. I don't really know what's going on, but Malik Tillman not starting to me, not being a part of that team's a weird one, because we saw last season, he can be such an important player in big games.
Aye, definitely. It's definitely an odd one, isn't it, in terms of why he's maybe got an injury or something when he signed. But when I was reading over his press conference and stuff like that, he was talking about like being itching to get started and all this kind of stuff. So it didn't strike me as a player that's out injured as such. There's some mad circumstances from not playing, but PSV are definitely going to give us a much harder game this time than what it was last season. I thought last season over 2 legs it was pretty even. Obviously, second leg we put in a great. That was the last time Glenn Kamara had a really good performance in a Rangers start. Was that match? He was outstanding that night. So it's going to need to be something similar this time. Bale's kind of talking about in his press conferences they're going to have a real go and he's going to let the handbrake off and whatever else. But I mean, he could have let the handbrake off against Morton on Saturday and never seemed to do it.
The problem with letting the handbrake off against a side like PSV is that we have the thing with Rangers is that I was saying this to a couple of people against the first leg against Servette. There was some occasions where Rangers were playing really good stuff. It was just that final ball. If they can find that kind of final pass and things like that, they are capable of scoring a couple of goals here. But also, you can see with the goals Rangers have conceded this season, every goal has been a really silly mistake, and that is a part of the Rangers game right now that is a massive concern to me. Yeah. That Rangers team has so many mistakes in them.
See, getting back to my point, Scott. See, if you've got Davy Weir in that defence, half the goals we've conceded don't get conceded.
I would go along with that. I would agree with that.
You need an experienced head in that defence. Somebody that's more mature than Connor Goldson that can speak even him through a game and tell him where to be. We need a higher standard of player in that defence, especially coming up against PSV. Squad submitted in that now, so we've made our bed. We're going to need to kind of try and make the best of what we've got. But I've got fears that PSV are going to rip us apart at some stage of the match on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm looking at the one weak point I would say with PSV as we saw last season. I don't think their goalkeeper is that good. I don't think their goalkeeper is that good at all. I think he's very vulnerable from long shots as we've seen last season. So I also don't think their defence is amazing. They've got a really good player in Jordan Teze who's probably going to play it right back, but the left area, I think they'll probably play with Van Aanholt. I think he's very, very. I'm not saying he's easy to exploit, but I think he's a lot weaker than their other side. Right. Their centre halves, Bazagli's quite good. I think Romalo will probably play, so that'll be. I think Rangers are. I think their defence is slightly vulnerable. Midfield to front though, I think they're really, really good. I mean, you've got Singari, Veerman, who Rangers fans know. Bakayoko, Verdesen, and either side of the wings is going to be very, very, very scary.
Definitely.
They are two players who can use pace, and I'm looking at potentially
Barisic.
Yeah, and that to me is a real concern. Up front, I think they'll probably play Gus Teal if Tillman doesn't play, but I think Lang would have probably played that position. Luke De Jong, I don't think. I think they're very set on him over Pepe. So I do think the PSV team will be pretty much what I've said. Depending on who plays in it. I think that attacking midfield position will be very interesting. If they go with Gus Teal, or I don't think Babad, I think Babadi's injured. I think it's a PSV team, particularly midfield to front, loaded with talent. And
definitely.
I think it's very similar from Rangers. I think they've got a lot of forward players who can cause problems, but I think there's a lot more of a a connection in terms of the PSV forward line as opposed to Rangers. And we'll pick our teams in a wee minute, but I look at PSV as a lot stronger in terms of chemistry than Rangers.
Aye, in terms of chemistry,
I think that's a big difference.
They've not got Nico Raskin in midfield, but
no, they don't.
I mean, having Campbell coming back in, Cifuentes, I think we could be. I think potentially we're stronger in midfield. I know Sangar's a really good player. He's been linked to big money moves.
I'm actually quite surprised he's still there.
Aye, so am I majorly. I thought Liverpool would have been in from looking for number 6 just now. But I think that's one part of the pitch we do kind of match them is midfield.
Yeah.
Midfield, and I mean, Scott, you're saying they're quite vulnerable at the back with their keeper as well. I'm just hoping Danilo is going to be in top form. If we get Danilo in top form, anything's possible. Dessers needs to make maybe a nuisance. He's sell up front and starting to see a wee bit more. Starting to see a wee bit more of Cyril Dessers. I'm not overly convinced, but something definitely needs to click up front. We need to stay rock solid at the back. Goldson and Suter need to speak to each other. They need fullbacks need to time when they're going forward. There's been too often, especially against good oppositions, where they're going to get caught out, especially with wingers that PSV have got. So I'm not so confident about the away leg, but I think the home tie is going to be quite interesting this week.
I think the first leg being at home is massive. Now let's get into our team now. I would say obviously I've kind of wrote a team down, and I think there's 6 positions where maybe 7 where we'll totally agree on who plays. I think Butland, Tavernier, Goldson, Barisic, Raskin, Cantwell, Danilo all start.
Mm-hmm.
Agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
I'm
so that leaves
3-5-2 though.
You're going 3-5-2. Interesting. I'm kind of eager to see that. Suter, I think, will play as well. So that's 8. The problem with Hadji's kind of thrown himself into the limelight, but I think that midfield 4 in the second half and Servette worked quite well. The Jack, Cifuentes, Raskin, Cantwell 4. I think he'll stick with that.
Aye.
I think he'll stick with that because I think he'll want, obviously, Jack. There's a reason he rested him. I think he'll want to bring that control. Cifuentes, I think, would be very unlucky not to play. I think he's been very, very good since he came in. It sort of leaves. The problem it does is I think it will probably be Dessers that plays up front with Danilo. I'm not sure. I think if he changes it, if he goes with the narrow shape, I think he'll have to play Danilo and Dessers. But Hadji, I think, would bring so much more in terms of width. And Cantwell could maybe play that kind of rotating kind of left. Like he can maybe use the advantage on the left side and you maybe drop Dessers. But I would personally play Hadji and try and go for a kind of 4-3-3. But I think he'll go with Dessers. I think it'll be a narrow shape. Aye. And I worry with that. Are you giving the wingers too much room?
Aye. I think he's going to go Butland, Sterling, Golds and Suter.
Interesting.
With Tavernier and Barisic in the wing back position.
Okay.
Wholly so that we can try and push the wingers back a wee bit.
I could see that. That would make sense. I don't think he'll do it, but I think it would make sense.
And then I think he's going to go with Cantwell, Cifuentes and Raskin, and then it's going to be Dessers and Danilo up front. Preferably, I would like him to kind of drop Dessers and stick Hadji in so that he can roam, float about a wee bit. We can stock up in the midfield and try and win possession back and hit them quickly in the counter-attack. That's what I want to see. Somehow I think he's not going to play a 3-5-2 and he's going to play a system where Ryan Jack's sitting in front of the defence.
Yeah.
Because he didn't play a weekend. They rested Jack at a weekend for a reason. I think Jack's going to come in.
I would agree.
So the Cifuentes drop out. There's so many different kind of ways that he could work it because he's not going to drop Raskin. He's not going to drop Cantwell.
Nor should he. He can't drop Raskin based on...
He shouldn't be dropping Cifuentes either. But
no.
But somebody's got to come out.
It's a very different game. Like if it was... I think because of the level of opposition, I don't think many Rangers fans, maybe like in terms of Servette, you would have thinking, yes, I don't see the need to play kind of 2 sitters, but in this type of game, I think Rangers have to do everything to make sure it's not a hard. It's going to be hard regardless, but PSV could really, really give Rangers a doing. Look, that is the worry. That is the worry.
I'm not careful.
I think, if they're not careful, I think if there's mistakes made, I think if there's not a good shape in terms of the kind of balance in midfield and forward areas, I think PSV could exploit that. And I think the next 4 games are massive for Michael Beale. Now,
can I just see before, I think I said it in my last pod to you, Scott, I said I wanted Rangers to drop into Europa League. I still think that should be the case for Rangers this season in terms of maintaining form and getting some momentum on a go for a go to this league, because we all seen it today. Celtic are going to drop points. I mean, they've been beat off a couple of Marnock today. Rodgers has changed Kyogo's position in terms of he's got him dropping deeper and all this kind of stuff, and it's not really, there's certain aspects of Celtic's play that aren't really clicking just now. So they're there. I would really prefer us to drop in the Europa League, maintain with form, get through the group stages, just have a solid season. That's what we need. Win a League Cup. So these, I'm not saying the Champions League doesn't matter to me. Of course it matters. It matters to a club, but to financially, in terms of profile, everybody wants to play in it. It's massive. But I don't want to see us getting beat 6 or 7-0 off Liverpool every other week either. So I think in terms of one season and back in the Europa, wouldn't do us any harm in terms of maintaining some sort of form and confidence and all that type of stuff.
I think the big thing is, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, is that if Rangers had beat Kilmarnock and we're going in without we're sitting here looking at Rangers and saying they've won every game, they've had positive results in every game. I think as long as they gave a good account against PSV, it would be fine. I think
100%.
Now, because that defeat against Kilmarnock's there and we haven't seen enough to say that this team's in better shape, I think a bad result against PSV could be harmful for Michael Beale, because there isn't enough evidence there to say, yes, you're going out. PSV, if PSV beat Rangers on merit, it's because they're the better team. But right now, there's Rangers fans who have got worry in the back of their mind. If PSV run riot, then that will just get further and further. And then you've got a massive game on September the 3rd, where if Rangers don't win, or don't lose, there's problems. And that's now where we're at. If the Kilmarnock result had never happened, if it had been a positive result, I think we'd be sitting here with a bit more leniency towards Beale. But now you've had that bad result, you're facing a really good opponent who are capable of really inflicting punishment. It needs to be some level of positivity. They can still go out, but if they don't give a good account of themselves, then I think fans will seriously question what's going on with Beale, because it doesn't have enough credit in the bank. And
definitely.
It was different. It was different. People will obviously say, yeah, he's only had 6 months last season. Results were better in terms of the league. I get that, but the big games Rangers played last season, the two games against Celtic in the Cups, Rangers were really, really poor in terms of, like, obviously Beale got his tactics wrong in the cup final, the semi-final. Obviously, it was just a silly mistake again. I thought Rangers were probably a better team, but he's lost both those games. So there's no evidence to say that Michael Beale has turned it around. Essentially, there's still people saying, obviously, Gio was better in big games than Beale. I would have more confidence going into this game if Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was the manager, because he had the big game. Do you know what I mean? Knockout games, I would fancy Gio over.
Knockout games,
But obviously, league form changed under Beale. But in big games, I worry that Beale either overthinks it or doesn't think it enough. There's never a balance there, and that's going to be a big thing this upcoming week. If Rangers can get a good result against PSV in the first leg, it'll certainly calm people down. But I think the next 4 games are massive for Michael Beale.
Definitely. It's all about pressure.
Absolutely.
Managing a plane. I've been
You don't get time, and we're seeing that. Obviously, we're just recording this just after Chelsea get beat, and there's people saying, "Yeah, Pochettino's is £360 million." Yes, he has, and that's why he's not going to get time. If Chelsea don't start winning games, it falls on the manager. It doesn't matter.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Moises Caicedo's worth £110 million. It's the manager that's going to bear the brunt of the fans higher, and it's going to be the same here. If I'm not completely shooting down Rangers' chance. I do think they've got a chance, because I do think if Rangers click up front, I think they're capable of hurting their team. But I just have serious worries with that defence. and
Aye.
I haven't seen enough to say I fancy Rangers. I think if Rangers can get a draw first leg, I'll be relatively comfortable. But
I don't think we're going to get humiliated as such. I think we're going to get in a game over the 2 legs. I think it's going to be close, and as long as it's close, we'll be all right.
yeah, I'm going to go 1 each first leg. What are you going for before we wrap up?
2-1 Rangers.
2-1 Rangers, big call. So yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting. We'll obviously have content going out through the week. We'll have a wee chat about the player ratings on Wednesday. We're going to wrap up there. It's been a weird type of show. Obviously, we're talking about a victory. We're talking about a massive game, but the positivity in terms of that Morton result just wasn't there. Hopefully, on to a better result on Tuesday night, Scott. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
No bother, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels and follow the Rangers Assessment on Twitter and Facebook for daily Rangers content. Thanks, folks. We'll see you soon.